Thanks for joining me for this quick conversation. Tell us about the Mama-Baby Dyad. You have trained as a pediatric occupational therapist. You've had cranial sacral training and pre and perinatal psychology studies, which all have informed you about the Mama-Baby Dyad. So tell us more about that because really, when I had my child, I had no idea that there was this thing called the fourth trimester. I had no idea that the mother and the baby are intimately, intricately connected. So please share more about that.
Yeah, thanks for having me and having this moment of intimate connection and conversation, which is really what the Mama-Baby Dyad is all about, intimacy and connection. And if people aren't really familiar with the term dyad, you can think of Mama-Baby Dyad as mama-baby bond or connection, which actually really happens through the nervous system and the body. And where I really learned so much about this amazing intimate connection and bond was through working with babies themselves. They have been my greatest teachers and wisdom keepers for how the heart field works between moms and babies. And not a whole lot get talked about when it comes to a baby's nervous system. And in fact, there's not a whole lot of literature that's out there to really support and empower new parents, especially around how to really nurture your baby's newborn nervous system. There's an abundance of information about how to care for their physical needs, which is wonderful and it's important and much needed. And so many of the new babies coming in really need their nervous systems and their bodies and their souls to be treated with the utmost respect. And so that's what I really started to see over the years. And specifically, one of the things that I really started to understand early on in my work with families was that the nervous system is actually that window or that bridge between our soul and our body. It's that connection point. And when moms and babies, specifically when babies come earthside, when their soul takes that first breath of life, and they are really wanting to solidify that bond, the birth experience really ties into what that bond is imprinted with. And so for many babies that might be considered fussy or colicky or hard to soothe, or maybe mama's just feeling like they're not really sure how to feel closer or more connected with baby. That's where understanding a baby's nervous system and what it's emotionally wanting and how the bond works and how to really connect with them through being in your own body really comes into play.
So you actually have, through learning with you about the Mama-Baby Dyad and learning how you just said when the mother learns to regulate her own nervous system, it supports the babies regulating their nervous system.
Mm.
And so they're both gaining the benefit of this knowledge.
100%, because for the fourth trimester, which is typically considered 6 to 8 weeks, but in all honesty, the postpartum period really never ends. But if we're looking at it in the fourth trimester, definition of what that time frame is, let's look at it in really the first year of life. but specifically like those first 6 to 8 months, your baby and your nervous system, your baby's nervous system and your nervous system as a mama are really one nervous system. And a lot of parents don't know that that's actually really true because there's not a lot of education out there about that. And when parents can really understand that what they're feeling directly impacts baby and how to really connect with their body and feel more grounded and centered, and then be able to connect with baby from that place, then you become that invitation for the baby's nervous system to really relax and settle into their body so that more of their soul, more of their energy, more of their light can actually feel safe to be here.
It's so interesting that you talk about how there's not a lot of literature or education around how important the mother's nervous system is and the bond between the mother and baby. And it makes me think about how traditional cultures, when you have a baby, it's known, the mother's cocooning for
Mhm.
the first 40 days, 30 to 40 days of the baby's life. And oftentimes, like in the Chinese culture, the mother of the mother, the grandmother of the baby, will
Mhm.
come and make meals for the mother to make sure that the mother has all that she needs with, like, medicinal
That's
herbs that
right.
help her milk supply. And it's just
Mhm.
this tradition that's passed down through storytelling and just tradition, right? And so much of our
Mhm.
learning comes from the storytelling and the traditions and not from books necessarily.
That's right. And even though there is information in certain somatic um, literature about nervous systems, there's not a whole lot that really focuses specifically on babies. And a lot of parents may not understand how the brain with emotion works in a baby and things like that. And I love that you bring in the support that mothers really need in order to nurture themselves and then to be able to nurture the new life that they've just brought earthside. That is, I would say, one of the most key elements to a baby's nervous system feeling really healthy and building a strong foundation of its own self-regulation over time is if mom is feeling really supported. And in that postpartum season, the more a mom can actually really be held and nurtured and in that cocoon space, whatever that looks like for her, the better it is for the solidification and the foundation for that bond between mama's nervous system and baby's nervous system to really have the most amount of love and nourishment to flourish. And that's important for as baby gets older and starts to crawl and sit up and eventually stand. That's some of the first points of when baby's separating and individuating their nervous system from mama, their energy from mama. And so that's why it's really important. Some people might call it attachment, but attachment styles come in all different shapes and forms. And there's just not a lot of education about how the nervous system works in babies. And then once I find that a lot of moms understand, oh my gosh, this is, how this soul's nervous system works in this physical form, they feel so much more empowered to really be able to understand their baby's cues, to understand how to meet their needs with more ease and peace, and how to soothe and stay centered in those moments when baby might seem hard to soothe or console, or they're not really sure, what they're needing. And not only that, I also see a real difference in the confidence, especially of new mamas. They'll feel so much more at ease, tapped into their intuition, knowing, okay, this is what I'm feeling my baby needs and wants in this moment, and I'm going to follow that, which is everything.
Oh my gosh, so many thoughts are going through my head as I'm listening to just this last bit that you were talking about. And one of the things is when you're talking about the baby being a little bit fussy and not being able to be consoled, and the mother, I can feel,
Mm,
like, generally speaking, mothers
yeah.
feeling nervous and just
Hmm.
disconnected and confused. And if they just
Hmm.
knew that, oh, you know what? If you yourself are just calm, because it's okay for baby to be crying. I mean, it's okay for baby to be communicating in whatever way, shape, or form they are. And
Right.
when you maintain your calmness, because it doesn't matter what anybody else around you is thinking,
That's right.
when you show up with calm and peace and just deep love for your child, that
Hmm.
child will be soothed.
That's
And
right.
there's not a timeline to it either.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because you become that energetic container and field
Right.
for your baby to really lean into and settle into, which helps them settle into their body, which is
Right.
everything, right? Like
Right.
that's the foundation for being
It-
human. And I love that you really highlight the emotional piece of what it can really bring up in a mama's nervous system when they're having a hard time soothing baby and knowing what they really need. And it's in those moments where it's okay if you can't find peace and calmness within yourself. It's what do you do with your own sensation and emotional trigger and response when it feels like everything you're doing isn't working? What do you do with that in your own system? And that's one of the things that I love helping mamas navigate as well.
Wow, it really seems essential. And also, when I think about this picture that you've drawn for us, um, this cocooning of the mother connecting with the baby, the mother connecting with herself, essentially, the mother-baby bond is so important for modeling the strength and empowerment that can ripple out. Because if we're looking at this picture of the mother and the baby and they're cocooning, and the father comes in or the partner comes in, and then the grandparents come in, and they're also holding this mama baby dyad as
Mhm.
sacred, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Everybody slows down to actually tune in to emotional connection, nervous system regulation, and essentially this baby that's come into this earth side form ripples out peace and love
Mhm.
if we allow it,
That's
if
right.
we allow them the space to
Mhm.
grow in that connection. It
Mhm.
strengthens the connection for everyone around, and that just ripples out. So this is why it's so important to focus in and slow down in support of the mother and the baby bonding.
So well said. And to really just add a beautiful snippet to that, to expand on what you said, the first connection that we ever learn to have with the earth is through our mother. And so if mom is feeling supported by her connection with nature, the earth, with those people in her family or um, her circle of supports surrounding her, it's everything for that baby to feel safe and free to be who they really are.
Thank you, Allison.
It's my pleasure. And there's so much more to say about this beautiful topic.
So much more. And we can look forward to that at the Being with Baby class.
Absolutely. And also, we'll be expanding on what we talked about here in some really easeful and simple ways. And you'll get to learn some really easy ways of connecting with your own body and some ways to deepen the bond with your baby as well. So it'll be really beautifully experiential. And I'll also get to tap into my well-loved baby whispering gifts and bring through beautiful spiritual messages from the babies that are called into this experience as well, because they always have a lot to say about what they need to feel really supported being in their bodies.
I can't wait. What a wonderful offering.
No, it's my pleasure.